is Bailey's Alley 55 Customs, and today I'm going to show you how to fix these holes in your door. I'm going to make them nice and flush and flat with the door, making it look like a natural part of the door. So I will do a step-by-step walkthrough of how to do that. In our previous video, we showed you how to get a dent out of the door. There's this big old crease right along the front side of the door. We did have to use a slide hammer to get it out because there's this big piece of metal behind here, and we weren't able to, reach behind the door and pop it out as you normally would if it was further back in the door. So we have that video you can check out if you would like to see that. So for almost this entire process, you're going to want to wear a respirator or a mask because we're going to have particles flying in the air and you don't want to breathe any of those in. We are going to start with a little wheel here, little metal grinder, and we are going to go ahead and start taking off the layer of paint so we can properly adhere the Bondo to it when we get to the Bondo. There's going to be sparks flying, so make sure you're just clear of the sparks and make sure nothing flammable is in the way of the sparks when you do it. It's pretty loud, and you're going to want to wear your respirator for this part. I'll stick that on really quick, and I'll do like the first little bit, and then I'll jump ahead so you don't have to sit through the whole thing. And I'll show you how to do it though. So you do want to make sure you hold the grinder as flat as you can, just like this white little edge here. Make it as flat as you can so it gets it nice and even, and you're going to want to make it about 2 inches wider than the dent so it can blend in, so it's not just like an abrupt little edge. You're able to blend it in with the Bondo. I'm going to finish this up and I'm going to show you what it looks like after. Alright, so as you can see, I finished sanding and I did the 2 inches or about 2 inches on each side of where I want to repair. Then you want to be careful not to get your fingers in the way of that grinder, because I accidentally hit it to my finger once and I actually melted the plastic or the rubber from my gloves into my skin a little bit, so that was a bit unpleasant. So just be careful of that, and you just want to wipe this off because it gets pretty dusty after. Alright, that's pretty good. Now what we're going to do next is we're going to apply the Bondo. So you can get Bondo at your, it's so dusty, at your local auto parts store. It's pretty popular, pretty common. So I mean, you can get a small pint size. I have the pint size. You can get a quart size or you can get a gallon. This was $12. A gallon is $30. So I mean, it differs. Have to make sure you get all the dust off. Alright, and it comes with this cream hardener. You don't need much compared to the Bondo that you use, so I'll show you that ratio. I'm going to go ahead and open this, scoop some out, and then I'll show you that ratio. Alright, so I have just like a piece of cardboard. If you just want to throw whatever you have on it away, and use whatever. Or if you want to keep reusing the base here, you can get like a piece of glass. Like they have some like pieces of car window glass. They're, just like the very back pieces, like little triangles, little rectangles that you can use. Those are easy to clean up, and you're going to want to use paint thinner, lacquer thinner to clean up after, because that is the best way to take all of the Bondo off, because when it hardens up it turns into like cement. It's very difficult to get off. So I have this silicone little scraper here. We're going to use that to apply the Bondo today. And I have this it's like 4-inch long thing of Bondo. And you're going to want to just put like that much. So not too much. If you put too much, it's going to harden too fast, and then it's going to clump up on you. And if it starts to clump up, just don't keep going, just stop. Otherwise, it's going to mess up your previous work that you've done on the Bondo. Because it's going to create all these lines in it, and it really messes you up. So you just want to stop and get some more. And you don't want to stir it, you kind of want to flatten it. This is going to keep the air bubbles out, and it's going to mix it nicely together. And then it's going to be like this pinkish reddish color. Then once it's all mixed together, you want to create a nice even layer. You can always add more, so don't worry about that. And when we sanded, we flattened the holes, so those aren't sticking out anymore. Ooh, that's kind of messy. But you want to do it kind of quickly, because it does harden up pretty fast. We're going to have to go over a little bit again, because as you can see, the holes are kind of sucking in the Bondo a bit, and it kind of creates this weird texture. So you just sand that down once it's dry, and then you just go back over it with a little more Bondo, and it'll fix that problem. So you want to make it as smooth as you can. So the Bondo is dry now. It takes about 10-15 minutes to dry. I have this electric sander here. It's a lot easier to use than like hand sanding. I have 60 grit sandpaper, so I'm going to use that to sand today for this portion. It does get really messy, just a heads up. And you want to make sure you keep it flat, and then go with like long strokes, whether you go side to side or up and down. So if you do short strokes, it'll cause little noticeable indents in there. So you want to make it nice and as smooth as you possibly can. I can already see we need to add a little more Bondo right here because it's a little low. And then we'll have to probably go over these holes one more time. You want to wear your respirator while doing this, so I'm going to show you how to do it, and then I'll skip ahead and show you the end product of this part. Alright, so I finished sanding it down, and you can see the low spots, and these are the spots that the sander didn't touch when it was being held flat. And so it's just this little area right here. There's a few little spots I need to touch up, so I'm just doing the same thing I did before. I have the Bondo, the hardener, just mixing it up. And the hotter it is, the quicker the Bondo is going to dry. So the more hardener you put in there, that's what's going to harden. So you just want to be aware of that too. You want to make sure it's dusted off nicely. Otherwise the Bondo's not going to stick, it's just going to kind of roll off the dust. Alright, so I sanded it all down after the Bondo dried, so it's all nice and sanded. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go in. I have 400 grit, the wet dry sandpaper. I'm going to go in with this and just do like a light sand over all of it. You can kind of hand shape this if you need a little more shape to it. If you feel it, you can feel high spots and low spots. Feel the tiniest high spot right here that I need to fix up, but I just go around with the sandpaper to make it look all nice and smooth. You want to have the edges blended in. You don't want to feel an edge at all. So I'm going to go ahead and do that really quickly. I'll be right back. Alright, so I hand sanded it. It's all nice and smooth. It's shaped the way I want. So I think we're ready to prime now. You want to make sure the dust is all off, so otherwise you're going to see it underneath the primer, and that's going to really screw you up. And then you also want to make sure that everything's taped off around it so you don't get any overspray on the car. Then you just want to make sure that the edges are nice and smooth into the paint itself. You don't want any edges to be seen. So I just have this white primer and sandable primer, and you shake it up a bit. You want to wear a respirator with this. You're going to want to keep it flat with the door, so just keep them in line. Keep it about like a foot away. You can adjust it if you need to. I generally like a foot. So let's get spraying. You just want to get it till all the spots are covered up. It's going to have this like sandy, gritty look to it. That's okay. We are going to go over with the wet, dry sandpaper one more time. After we get a second coat of this on. It only takes a few minutes to dry before you need a second coat. So we are going to add a second coat in a minute, and then we're going to wet sand it, because that's going to get it nice and smooth. So here it is with the first layer of primer on. It is quite grainy, as you can see. We're going to let this dry for a few minutes, then we're going to put a second coat on. And after we put the second coat on, we're going to wait about 2 hours to wet sand it. We are going to use the wet dry sandpaper. We're going to wet sand it. And then you can go ahead and paint after that. You just need to make sure that the primer is very nicely sanded down before you paint. Otherwise, you'll see all the little grainy little pieces through the paint. So you just want to make sure it's nice and smooth. Alright, so I put the second coat of primer on, and it's all dry now. And you can see all the little beads already falling off of it because it needs to be sanded. So I just have the wet dry sandpaper, 400 grit, and I have a bucket of water right here. And to wet sand it, you just dunk it in the water, kind of saturate it first. And then you're just going to start sanding. And you want to make sure it doesn't get dry, because the the water gives it a nice consistency. So you just want to make sure it has the water on there so it's nice and smooth. You're just going to keep doing this till it's smooth to the touch. You don't want to feel any of these grains. And I'm going to go ahead and just start sanding. And right away you can feel a difference. So you just keep doing that all the way around. Alright, so we sanded it all down. You want it to be baby butt smooth. You don't want to feel any little grains of the primer in there, otherwise you're going to see it when you paint. So this is all ready to paint. It's okay if you have like a little pink poking through here. That's going to get covered up by the paint. And you can get your primer, like the spray can and the primer that I used at your local auto parts store. I got it for so it was like $7. And then the cap color, that's the color that the primer is gonna be. So you want to keep that in mind as well. And the video that we did previously, that's our episode 34. And that shows how to fix the dent, because this is all creased in right here. And so that shows how to fix it. And you know, after you're done sanding or wet sanding, you just want to take a wet towel and just kind of wipe off the residue, wipe off the crap. And then, whoops, after that, you're all ready to go ahead and paint. I am going to upload some painting videos soon. It's going to be one of the next videos we upload, so you can stay tuned for that to see how you properly actually paint after you prime. So thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate your view. If you like this, please give it a like. We love to hear your comments, so please leave a comment down below. And if you have any videos you want to see in the future, please let us know. We'll get to that as soon as possible.